So, you've only got 15 minutes to practice. On this episode of Getting Better Together, I'm going to show you what to do. Let's do it! Hey there, I'm so glad you're back. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for coming, and I'm so glad that you decided to stop by and check out the channel. This channel that you have stumbled upon is all about music business and strategy and even playing guitar, like today. Today is another episode of Getting Better Together, and we're going to talk about how to practice in 15 minutes and make it effective, because so many people I know have very limited time schedules, and everybody's always looking for a way to make sure they maximize their time with the instrument. So today we're just going to talk about something you can do for 15 minutes that will make you better. But for my experienced listeners and watchers here on my YouTube channel, you know that every time we start an episode, I always give a shout out to what I call the artist of the day, which is very simply that I just want to bring an overall awareness to art that maybe you haven't heard about yet that's really cool, or at least I think so. So today's artist is a friend of mine that goes by Ezra Daniels. It's actually a moniker that my friend Matt Jackson has put together for a new batch of his music that he's been working on. And man, he has been killing it with the single releases. The two singles that I'm really hyped about that he's released here recently are called With You and Touching Your Skin. Touching Your Skin just came out a couple days ago, so make sure you go click on that and give it a spin. Matt is also a regular performer with a group that I play with called the Georgia Players Guild, which does a lot of tribute shows too. So at some point, you're going to see him or hear him somewhere, somehow. So with that, let's get right on to the topic at hand today, how to practice in 15 minutes. So people, tell me, how many times have you looked at the clock and you're like between meetings, or maybe you're thinking about going and doing something at the top of the hour and it's 15 till and you're wondering, man, I really wish I had time to practice. And then you say something like, oh, maybe I'll just do that later on today when I have a little bit more time. Or maybe your brain rationalizes and says something like, 15 minutes really isn't enough time to get anything done, so I'll just wait till later. I think we're all guilty of making these rationalizations at some point, and that's okay sometimes. But I'm here to tell you that that's kind of a bad habit, and you should use that 15 minutes to, really try and make yourself better. So what do you do? What do you do with 15 minutes to make it productive? I mean, you only have 15 minutes, right? I tell a lot of students that if you're going to practice for a half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour to sort of make a schedule and say for X amount of minutes, I'm going to do task A, and then X amount of minutes, I'm going to do task B. But in this particular case, it doesn't really make sense to do that because you only have 15 minutes. So rather than trying to divide up this time into saying 2 minutes, I'm going to work on chords, and then for the next 4 minutes, I'm going to work on scales or something like that, I think it would be more productive if you spent time doing one thing for 15 minutes. That one thing could be anything that you want it to be. It could be a new lick, it could be a scale, it could be a chord, it could even be rhythm. And by rhythm, I mean just sitting down and playing something with a funky groove and just trying to make it feel good. What if, just an idea, you took that 15 minutes and you broke them into 1 minute intervals, and you decided to be creative within the entire 15 minutes by recording 1 minute improvisations. This doesn't have to be for the advanced player. This could also be for the amateur one too. Just picking out a couple of notes from a couple of chords could really lead to something really interesting, which I think kind of leads me to where I am right now in my whole creative process and how much time I have available. Whenever I sit down to practice these days, it doesn't seem to be like 3 hours of time like it used to be when I was 25 or something, and no one knew who I was or wanted to call me for a gig. Aww. These days, my time personally is a little limited, so if I can find some way to gain satisfaction out of what I play in the moment while also tackling a broader issue, it just really helps me deal with the idea of sticking music into 15-minute intervals if my schedule is that busy that day. So if you're going to institute this into your 15 minutes of practice, just improvising and making things up, you have to know there's one rule. Actually, I take that back. There's two rules. You could play it loud. You could play it soft. Essentially, as long as you're making noise on your instrument, it's legal. But that gets us to rule number 2 in this exercise, and that is very simply that it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So in 1 minute, you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to show how a story starts, has a climax, and a resolution. Very simple. You can use any of your guitar effects, or if you're another instrument like a piano, you can grab some delay and reverb pedals and stuff and stick it on your piano and do things like that to provide some inspiration. Anything that you can do to come up and be creative and build that story arc is what you're looking to do, all within 1 minute. So now I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute and let's see how it comes out. All right, let's try it. If you are really smart about this whole thing, you would simply just record each one. So that way you have a document of all the things that you're making. After a few weeks, go back and listen to the very first one you did. And what you'll notice is you repeat yourself a lot, which should be a catalyst for learning new things about music and learning new riffs or new songs and new harmonic ideas, just to, give yourself a deeper palette of which to pull from. Maybe if you were finger picking something like 1, 2, 3, maybe you think about going 1, 3, 2, or, subtle things like that that just change everything. For me, these days, this little exercise is something I really love to do, and I hope that you find some value in it and institute it into your practice time too. Being creative and having fun is all a part of the game too, and you can't just always practice scales and chords and things like that and expect to still love music at the end of it, because a lot of that is dry material. But just sitting down and being creative and having no rules and just documenting what you do and then coming back and listening to it after a few weeks, you'll see improvement in how you develop ideas. Remember, you want a beginning, a middle, and an end. Sound good? Good. Congratulations, you made it to the end of this video, which means it's time for you to like and subscribe to the channel if you really enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what you're practicing. I would love to know, so that way maybe I could get some inspiration and add it to my practice routine too. Until next time, I'm Sweet Deat. You have a great day.